I break all the rules, but I figure that's what stars are supposed to do. Just cause we're super cool. Don't you know, whatever time of day, be sure to find me in my designer shades. That's how I operate. Don't you know, if I had to do this all.
Good morning to you, dear listener out there. We welcome you to a fresh edition of Business Diet on Wells Radio 89.3 FM, Alafin Avenue, Oluyole Estate in Ibadan. This Monday morning, we are here home and dry with another edition of Business Diet. Well, no doubt, part of the issues that we are going to discuss is the Iranian attack and how it affects us. Of course, we are not going to discuss that directly. We are going to discuss that as it relates to the Nigerian economy. Well, that is one of the issues. And nowadays, the issue of rent is becoming a serious matter, especially in the urban centers. So we are also going to take a look at this as it affects Lagos. And when we discuss, we are going to talk about how it also affects Ibadan. Us in Oyo State specifically. Well, my name is Akinwale Aboluwade. I am your dear friend on the radio, and we go straight into the news, the business and economic news, after we shall go into analysis. So this morning, I will want you to stay tuned to the dial. We are along Alafin Avenue in the city of Ibadan, and we are assuring you of very clean and wholesome content. Well, we go first into the business and economic news. First, the headlines. Iran-US tensions may trigger fresh fuel hike in Nigeria, experts. Lagos residents groan under rising rents. Nigeria's GDP grows by 4.07% in quarter 4 2025, NBS. Now the news in details. Iran-US tension may trigger fresh fuel price hike in Nigeria, experts. Energy experts and downstream petroleum operators have warned that Nigeria could experience another increase in petrol and diesel prices if global crude oil price rise above $90 per barrel amid escalating tension between Iran and the United States. The warning follows renewed hostilities in the Middle East, which have introduced fresh volatilities into the global oil market and heightened concerns over Nigeria's vulnerability to external price shocks, despite ongoing effort towards local refining. Checks across major Nigerian cities show that petrol currently sells between 824 naira to 880 naira per liter, depending on location, logistic expenses, and individual marketers. The current pricing regime comes after the Dangote Petroleum Refinery recently reduced its premium motor spirit PMS gentry price by 25 naira per liter, bringing the depot rate down from 799 naira to 774 naira per liter in February 2026. However, industry stakeholders warn that gains from the recent price reduction may be short-lived if geopolitical tension persists. In separate interviews with some people 5 energy experts noted that the growing confrontation between the United States and Iran could significantly disrupt global crude supply dynamics. They explained that fears of instability around the strategic Strait of Hormuz, a critical global oil transit route, have already introduced risk premiums into international oil prices. According to them, any prolonged escalation of crisis could push crude prices higher, ultimately translating into increased fuel costs for Nigeria consumers. Lagos residents groan under rising rents. Residents of Lagos State are increasingly burdened by soaring house rent as accommodation costs across metropolis continues to rise despite declining housing standards and poor living conditions. Findings show that tenants in several neighborhoods now pay between 1.5 million naira and 2.5 million naira annually for single rooms and self-contained apartments, many of which lack access to basic amenities such as portable water, adequate sanitation, reliable electricity, and proper waste disposal system. The rising cost of housing has further worsened economic pressure on low and middle income earners already grappling with inflation, increasing transportation expenses, and stagnant incomes. For many residents, access to shelter has become increasingly difficult, forcing families to relocate to distant suburbs or spend a significant portion of their income on rent. Across mainland communities and rapidly expanding suburbs, complaints over sudden rent increases, arbitrary service charge, and deteriorating housing conditions have become widespread. Tenants allege that many landlords continue to impose steep rent hikes without corresponding improvements in infrastructure or maintenance. Occupants in several areas report living with leaking roofs, poor drainage systems, overcrowded compounds, and shared toilet facilities in densely populated environments. Investigation indicated a growing mismatch between rent costs and housing qualities across the state. Single-room apartments within congested compounds are now priced at levels previously associated with standard one-bedroom flat, raising concerns about affordability and housing regulation in Nigeria's commercial capital. Stakeholders have repeatedly called for stronger government intervention, improved urban housing policies, and enforcement of tenant regulations to address the worsening housing crisis. Nigeria's GDP grows by 4.07% in quarter 4 of 2025 NBS. Nigeria's economy recorded a 4.07% year-on-year growth in real gross domestic product in the fourth quarter of 2025, according to latest report released by the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS). The figure represents an improvement from the 3.76% recorded in the corresponding period of 2024, indicating stronger economic activities towards the end of the year. The NBS also reported that Nigeria's economy grows by 3.87% for the full year 2025, up from 3.38% recorded in year 2024. According to the report, the improved performance was driven mainly by increased activities in the agriculture and industrial sectors. The agricultural sector grew by 4% 2% in quarter 4 2025, supported largely by crop production, which remained the major contributor to the sector's output. The industrial sector expanded by 3.88% during the period, while the service sector recorded a 4.15% growth rate, slightly lower than the 4.75% posted in the same quarter of 2024. Analysts say the sustained growth reflects gradual economic recovery, although inflation and rising living costs continue to pose challenges to households and businesses. Before I end the business and economic news, here again are the headlines. Iran-US tension may trigger fresh fuel hike in Nigeria, experts. Lagos residents groan under rising rents. Nigeria's GDP grows by 4.07% in quarter 4 of 2025, NBS. Now, those are the news items, and we would like you to join us in the conversation on the economic business and economic matters. Now, if you want to join us in the studios, the lines to call are 0916-893-1000. Another one, 0915-334-893. And the last number, 0911-3333-893. So I would like you to join us by calling in so that you can contribute to the issues. Now, Iran-US tensions may trigger fresh fuel hike in Nigeria. Experts, if you recall, especially going through that story, we just experienced a surge in price, which is now a bit reduced. But in the midst of that, as we grapple with rising fuel price in Nigeria, and one of the issues that was raised in the story is that checks across major Nigerian cities show that petrol currently sells between 824 naira and 880 naira per liter, depending on location, logistics, and expenses. Depending on individual marketers. But as we grapple with this reality, here comes the Iran-US fight. U.S. in conjunction with Israel is bombarding Iran, and the experts are saying that if this should continue, it might end in surge in pump price of fuel, because the global price for the barrel of crude may rise above $90. And if that happens, it's going to affect us locally, because the Nigerian petrol price is largely responsive to the global realities. Experts explain that fears of instability around the strategic Strait of Hormuz, a critical global oil transit route, have already introduced risk premium into international oil price. And any prolonged escalation of the crisis could push crude prices higher, and ultimately this may translate into increase in fuel price in Nigeria. Oh, well, I want to wish us good. I want to say that I hope that the crisis between U.S. and Iran will be put to rest in matter of days, if not hours. If this happens, then I will say that, okay, we are good to rely on the current price of fuel. But then the current price of fuel in Nigeria, I think that we can still expect a downward review. But this would depend on a couple of things. Locally, if the fuel marketers, the importers, if they decide to look at possibility of setting up a refinery, okay, in addition to the giant, the mega refinery by the Dangote Petroleum, and other refineries are still coming, and they will be launched in matter of maybe a year thereabout or so. Well, while we grapple with what we have on hand now, we keep our fingers crossed over what the outcome of the U.S.-Iran fight might be. But away from the pricing, let us push for a more peaceful world, a world where there is trust, a world where we see one another as brothers rather than fight, suspicion, apprehension all the time. Well, I wish the world a better experience as we go in the year 2026. Now, the next story reads, Lagos residents groan under rising rents. And when I read this story, what came to my mind is, we are talking of the Lagos situation here. What about Ibadan? You can call us and tell us your experience regards rental. If you are a landlord, you may not really be willing, but then why not? Why not talk about the situation that affects us all? What affects one affects all. What affects a sector of the economy affects us all. So Lagos residents groan under rising rents, and the story reads that the Lagos residents, they are groaning under the burden of soaring house rent. The qualities of the shelters provided is low, yet you still have a situation where prices, the cost of acquiring the vacant houses is far high. What that story says is that the rent that is claimed in very befitting shelter, on very befitting shelters in the past, is what the people are paying now for just very manageable houses, while the price, while the facilities there are nothing to go to write home about. Well, this is not too good. Findings show that story reads that findings show that tenants in several neighborhoods now pay between 1.5 million and 2.5 million annually for single rooms of self-contained apartments, many of which lack facilities, the social amenities, the basic amenities that will make life convenient for the tenants. Social amenities such as portable or hygienic water, adequate sanitation, reliable electricity, maybe stable electricity supplies, and proper waste disposal system. To whom much is given, much is also expected. If the landlords are taking so much, then they should be able to give high level of comfort to the tenants, but then renting a room, a self-contained room for 1.5, 2.5 million. That is a far outcry. We should try and look at a possible review of what we have on hand. How do we get to that? I think there should be attitudinal change on the part of the people. If you are a landlord, can you rent a self-contained for 2.5 million naira? I think that we have a situation here in Ibadan too that you can get a self-contained for 2.5 million naira. Well, in highbrow areas, but then, that is far too expensive. Now, in Ibadan and other big towns across the state, I think this situation, you still have a situation where the rent has gone high up there to the rooftops. I think that we should make this world a better place for one another. Let me quickly go through the last story, which reads, Nigeria's GDP grows by 4.07% in quarter 4 of 2025. NBS, the gross domestic product, Nigerian economy recorded a 4.07% year-on-year in real gross domestic product in fourth quarter of 2025, says the National Bureau of Statistics. Well, while this is cherry, one of the analysts just raised a poster before I entered the studio this morning that, well, to what extent does this have bearing on us as a people, as citizens of Nigeria, if the country's economy is growing and the people hardly feel that, what good does it make? We have a country that grows richer while the people becomes poorer. Well, there is a statistics that was posted towards the end of last year that more people in Nigeria are likely to fall into the poverty racket in year 2026. I think what government should be looking at is a possibility of addressing this fear, this anxiety of more Nigerians falling in below the average level into the poverty-ridden class. Well, it won't be good where we say that we are trying to improve our democracy and the economy is not really anything cherry. We should look at ways and means by which we cushion the effect for the people. And then let me say that our dear youth out there are opportunities you can take on self-learning on the internet that can make life better for you. Maybe if time allows us, next edition, we shall dwell on these. Well, it is on this note I'll be saying goodbye on this Monday edition of Business Diet. But I would like to say a big thank you to the management of Wells Radio 89.3 FM. I want to say a big thank you to my producer, Toluwaleke Ali, and the engineer in the house, Engineer Henry. Until next week, when we meet on another edition of Business Diet, I remain your dear friend on the radio, Akinwale Aboluwade. Good morning.
This again, I wouldn't change.
89.3 FM. preferred wholesome radio.
Is unbeatable.